I certainly can judge you, Carlos, because you've been a terrible human being. But I'm walking into this meeting as a very curious, interested person who just wants to know what happened. I want to give you the chance to tell me your story. And I find that people really respond to that, even if they may be resistant in most cases to speaking to the press or to talking to an author. But if you come at it, that you're not prejudging them, and that it's not about your ego, because I feel like that should not be in the way of a conversation, that it should be about trying to get information.
Looking at his life, like just estimating it, I'd need 4 full podcasts.
Oh, yeah, you absolutely would.
Yeah, I would need 4 3-hour podcasts with him. It would need to be about 12 hours to really get down and dirty on the details from a storytelling, step-by-step, psychological profile, culmination of it all.
And then you need a whole other episode at the end to say, well, after my research, this was crap, this was bullshit, that he made this up, this didn't really happen. Because that's the way it is with Carlos. He's not a reliable witness to his own life's events.
Right. You're plugging and playing, like you said, as far as like things you already know, what information he can corroborate, or where you know he's going to lie about something because you already have the other source. And
asking about how he was captured, for example, that becomes, in Carlos's mind, all about those acts of betrayal. People who, one of the memorable lines that I was able to use was, his big regret in his life was he didn't kill more people, and he should have killed those bastards who got him at the end, and just was too slow on the draw.
Yeah. One of those guys, like I used a line from The Wire earlier, but another famous line where he's like, the game ain't in me no more. Feels like this is, dude, the game is going to be in him till the day he drops.
Which I must say, I'm hearing recently that he's in further decline, that his health is waning, and so it could be that by the time, as we're still talking about the book, he may not have him with us anymore, which is a real possibility, just because he's of that age. He's 76, and he's been in prison for a long time.
No, you knew you were going to maybe have like 90-ish minutes or something like that?
Yeah.
So obviously, very different approach to what I do here, where we're just talking all day and we see where it goes. You had to be very prepared, right?
I had annotated notes. I had all these things I wanted to try out on him. And like your conversations, it becomes, once you start with them, sometimes the notes just get disregarded because he goes down a trail, and then you think, well, okay, we'll ask him about this. Or I could tell that this line of questioning is not going to be fruitful. He's not going to have anything to say. Or else he'll shut down. This was also the frustration. I would start to talk about an incident that, I know a lot about. And he would just say, oh, I don't remember. And that would be it. And there's no point in asking him anything else, because he would just kind of clam up. He doesn't like to admit to things that he hasn't been convicted of. And there are certain things, like if you read the book, you'll see that one of his big attacks in his historical career was bombing Radio Free Europe in Munich in 1981. He set up this elaborate bombing. It doesn't go off quite like he intended, but he succeeded in bombing this U.S.-built, U.S.-run international broadcaster and creating a lot of damage. But he has never acknowledged having anything to do with it, and he denies it, effusively, because he's never been convicted of it, and he doesn't want to have, be on record as saying that he attacked this American facility, because it could have consequences. Right. I have all kinds of evidence that it was him, that he did it, and but he just wasn't going to talk about it in that interview.
A lot. If you talk to or listen to a lot of great actors talk about roles where they play a villain, or other of your fellow great authors where they talk about writing about people who were objectively evil, many of them will often go through how the approach when they're going through it is to not judge the person, kind of suspend that, so that in the actor's case, they can actually feel and be in their bones and let out that performance. And in the author's case, they can actually do the same thing to be able to write about it factually. And then they'll say afterwards, then they can kind of judge it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was your approach with him from that perspective?
Kind of the same dopey approach that I take to most of my interviews, which is I just want to know. I'm not going to, I certainly can judge you, Carlos, because you've been a terrible human being, but I'm walking into this meeting as a very curious, interested person who just wants to know what happened. I want to give you the chance to tell me your story. And I find that people really respond to that, even if they may be resistant in most cases to speaking to the press or to talking to an author. But if you come at it, you're not prejudging them, and that it's not about your ego, because I feel like that should not be in the way of a conversation, that it should be about trying to get information, and just say, I am personally, honestly curious to know what happened here. What really happened in 1975, Carlos, when you, as a 26-year-old man, walked into the headquarters of OPEC, the International Oil Cartel, and proceeded to take the whole thing hostage? What were you thinking about, and who put you up to it? And I could get him to ramble on about that, because he's kind of proud of it. That's the one thing he's probably most known for. One of the most audacious terrorist attacks I've ever heard about.
That's what he was wearing, right?
That's what he was wearing. That's that day. He was wearing a funky beret, because that was, again, like his hero Che Guevara wore a black beret. That was his uniform.
He looked like Pedro Pascal right there.
He does a little bit. And in this one, he's playing cosplay, trying to be Che Guevara, and walking into a big office building in downtown Vienna, Austria, in 1975, with 5 henchmen with guns, and took the place hostage, and ran off with dozens of hostages out into the North African desert and ransomed them for millions of dollars. So, crazy story.
We'll come back to that. But when you first walk in there and you're like, oh shit, it's happening. Yeah. First of all, were you meeting with him in like a holding room or something like that?
Yeah. So you think of a visitor's room in prison, and it wasn't like that, because you can imagine, you've seen those in enough films where kind of there's all these chairs and maybe people congregate. It was, if viewers have a sense of the size of this studio, it was smaller than this, by about half.
It's about 14 and a half by 18.
So yeah, maybe that. Enough room for a table and 4 chairs around it. I was in one chair. Carlos gets ushered in, and he sits right next to me. So we're like 2 feet away, and
dangerously close.
And the guy, it's not scary, because it's under very controlled conditions, and he's been a prisoner, and he's an old man for a long time. But kind of the moment of kind of like, this is my research subject, and it's like you've been trying to discover some new species, and suddenly this animal is that you've been spending your years studying is right there in front of you.
You're at Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and you're looking at this T-Rex or whatever it is, a velociraptor, and thinking, man, I can't believe I am 2 feet away from this guy that I've been obsessively researching for the last couple of years, and here he is. So it's pretty wild.
How did he walk in? Like, what was the vibe walking in? And how's his English too?
So his English is great, and that's one of the things. He's a smart guy, and he speaks 5 languages at least, and including Russia, because he lived in Russia as a kid. Of course, Spanish, English, French, Arabic, and so you hear him. I'm there first, so I'm kind of camped out in this little room, just kind of waiting for him to show up, and you can hear him coming down the hall because there's a commotion. And everybody in prison knows Carlos the Jackal, and they call him Carlos. And so you hear the guards saying, "Oh, Monsieur Carlos, bonjour, how are you?" And then he kind of knows them, so he's ragging them. And I described this scene where he's kind of shadow boxing with one of them, and kind of pretend like he's beating the crap out of them. So he's very playful in that way with them. They don't treat him like he's some arch murderer, but just like he's some famous guy who happens to live in the same place where they work. So then he kind of walks in, and you think he's going to walk in like in a prison jumpsuit, but no, I don't know if it's because this is how he dresses to meet visitors, or if it's how he dresses every day. But he's all natty. He's got like nice pants on. It has a nice brown leather bomber. This is late winter, so it's kind of cold.
In prison?
Yeah, and he's got like a little leather cap on, like a little
that would have thrown me off.
And it looks like you might have met him at Target or something. So it doesn't feel like you're in prison at all. He's a little bit scruffy now. He apologizes actually for not shaving. He hadn't shaved that for a couple of days. He had a little bit of stubble. Takes off his hat, sits down, kind of gives me a very bemused smile, and then almost like, well, what's our subject today? What do you want to talk about? Who are you again? And I'm saying, gee, Mr. Carlos, I'm not like a schoolboy, but I'm trying real hard not to be kind of overwhelmed by the moment. And And then I just explain again who I am. I'm a journalist for the Washington Post, and I'm an author, and I'm working on this book, and I want to understand the kind of the early history of these terrorist movements, and you were right at the middle of all that, and I just would appreciate having some of your memories. And then I just went through my list, and the areas where he was okay with talking, that became a longer conversation. And then others just kind of got X'd off my question list as, okay, that's not going to be very productive, but that's just kind of how it went.
So Deef is a script writer.
Okay.
And a writer and a
Fantastic.
novel writer as well. I'm seeing the script here, dude.
It
Joby
is-
Warrick running into the prison. Oh my God, it's happening. It's raining a little bit outside.
Yeah.
He's like covering
Kinda-
himself.
Yeah,
He gets in there, bonjour.
bonjour.
And they walk through. It's like all tense. He sits down. He's waiting. And then we just see like a dude coming through in a bomber jacket. We don't see his face yet, but he's like
Yeah.
shadow boxing with the prisoners along the side. And you're looking. He's not revealed. Then he walks in, saunters in with a little gait, sits down. You're staring at him like shaking.
Yeah.
And then he goes, so.
What's going on?
And then the movie goes to Venezuela.
Yeah.
He's born.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That is a great scene. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay.
And then it ends.
Can we
We'll-
copyright that? So
Yeah. No, I might need to write this now. I see the movie getting adapted. Dibs.
No,
Dibs on that, Deef. We got that.
you know,
That's wild, though. Like, I'm getting chills thinking about, like, him walking in and just kind of.
the other interesting moment in the beginning was him figuring out what language you were going to use. He said, can we speak in English? Because even though he's been in a French prison for 30 years, English is his most comfortable language other
Really?
than Spanish. And so there was kind of, oh, good, we can talk in English. And that was kind of a relief to me too, because I wasn't sure. 'Cause
Can
I
you
knew,
speak French?
no, I very like 15 words. So it wasn't going to be much of a conversation if we had to speak in French. And I had been so afraid. I knew that historically he spoke pretty good English because he's on the record, many of his crimes, announcing himself in English and having conversations in English and writing letters. But he'd been in jail in France for so long. Does he still speak it? I just didn't know. And so it was a relief to me when he said, oh, great, let's talk English. That'll be better for me. So, okay, Carlos, what do we talk about? And it was more kind of his curiosity. What did I want to know? And him being not reticent, but almost kind of like, oh yeah, so do you want to talk about that? I can fill you in on Vienna in 1975. Let's chat with that. And so
Thank you guys for watching the episode. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. They're both a huge, huge help. And if you would like to follow me on Instagram and X, those links are in my description below.